I was so mad because I'm like, man,
Wait. Whoa. I started. Okay, wait. Okay. Okay, let's just swap.
I feel like this is so close.
Hello, Christina. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mikhail?
I'm doing well as well. So, to introduce you to my guest today is a great example of how your path can change through opportunity and connections. She studied BA in English and Communications and BA in Media, and now she's working remotely for a tech company. Her story really tells how the skills you build and the people you meet can open doors you never expected. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you. Gosh, what an extensive intro. I was
No
not
problem.
expecting that.
No problem. Um, so I want to ask you. So I I know that like you're someone that's easy to get along with, right? So I wanted to know like, were you always good at talking to people, or is it something that you learned along the way? I'm asking for so say for example, there's someone that's watching, right, and they're not really good at talking to people. Is it something that they could learn along the way?
Mhm. I feel like a large part of it is treating people as simply people and people that you can learn from. I feel like everyone is interesting because we all come from so many different walks of life, and who knows what about your story I could learn. And I think it's kind of exciting as well talking to people. So even from a young age, I've always it's an extroverted thing. I will acknowledge that. I've always been extroverted from a young age, so that has been a big driver to kind of want to engage more and more with people. But I feel like as I get older, the more I learn things and I change and I grow, so do other people, which kind of makes it more exciting. Someone you could have met 2 years ago could be a different person now. And I think, yeah, just creating the space for that to happen and just to be open to it as well. So I don't know if that makes me easy to get along with because I am genuinely someone who's interested in other people. But yeah.
So you said you're genuinely interested in other people and you've always been extroverted. So for someone, do you think that networking for them would just be a skill, or is it would it be a personality?
I feel like having the personality trait does benefit, but it's something that you can sort of pick up on as you get older. I don't think it's one of those things where you're an old dog and you can't learn new tricks. I feel like if the more you engage with an environment and the more you're in that space, the more you can become like that. So when I think of networking, a very important aspect of it is just going into those spaces to listen, especially in the beginning stages, because truthfully, there's nothing that valuable that you can contribute. So the best that you can do is just to be in that space, to hear what everyone else has to contribute, and yeah, going from there and adapting as you go.
Wonderful. So you know, why does why does it feel like once you're done with uni, like a lot of people when it's done with uni, they feel like it's harder for them to make connections and make friends. So
Mm.
how do you meet people when you're not in classes anymore?
Oh, I think it's a tricky thing, especially post uni, because everyone is sort of like actually in the real world. And that's when we're having to pick up on, like, everyone's trying to figure things out. So I think that's what makes it difficult because everyone's in this sort of phase of uncertainty, trying to figure out what to do next. It can kind of make it difficult when you're meeting other people because you're not established in whatever it is that you're doing. So it's like it's hard to do that introduction. When someone asks you, oh, what do you do? How do you then share that when you're just sort of fresh out of uni, you're still trying to figure it out? And even if you think about the uni journey itself, for a lot of us, it is about figuring things out as we go. So when I think about myself, when I started, I did a BA and I kind of had an idea of the type of work that I wanted to do, but I didn't know exactly where it fit in. And so I went into it with very much an open mind, but a part of that as well was being sort of willing to be active in a lot of the spaces. So it comes with understanding that because you don't know what you want, the best way to figure that out is by simply doing anything and everything and hoping that whatever comes from that is
Yeah.
something that you can learn from and to see it as stepping stones for the next step. So for me, I was very much open to everything. Yeah, of course, in your first year, second year, the things that you lean towards the most are joining clubs, joining committees, anything that's happening on campus. Another great way to meet new people. And again, it's like, it's an environment with so many different people from so many different walks of life. So a lot of the assumptions that you thought you had and you thought were true are very much challenged in that environment. So you're learning about yourself, you're learning about other people, you're learning about what you thought, and you're having to adapt in real time. So that was one aspect of it. But I was also someone who understood that a lot of it was going to be you looking like you don't know what you're doing and being comfortable to make those failures in public, but also to attach those learnings as you go and just to simply keep moving. So I think a cool part of it is being active, and the more active you are, the environments that you engage in will truly shape you. I think that is something that I truly believe in, that we are people that can learn and unlearn and relearn, and it's simply just being willing for that to happen. And so with networking, as much as I started in the uni context and I was very much engaged with what was happening in front of me, there came to a point where I felt like, okay, it's now time to expand outside of the uni context, right? Like how you're treated in uni is still very much like, there is that understanding that you are trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. And the resources around you are kind of to help establish you. But outside of the uni context, it's kind of free game for everyone. People treat you like, okay, you seem like you know what you're doing. So there's that foundational aspect. And it kind of does help when you're still learning, because you're now you're active in the game. So imagine it's like you know how to play some sport, but now you're on a football pitch and you're told, listen, you kick the ball in that direction. And so you're just running with the ball. You're told this is your team, and you're learning all the dribbles, all the tactics, you're learning how to swerve, all those sort of things. And it just comes with the environment. So I feel like certain things that you can only learn if you're active in the field, and that's the best sort of learning. Sure, you're going to fall on your face a couple of times, but guess what? Everyone that's playing is playing for themselves, and their focus on you is not as great as you think. So I think that's a pretty big part of it. Just being willing to make those mistakes and continue being active. And as you kind of learn things, you have to sort of be open to challenging yourself for even more environments and to test your own understanding. If you're not willing to test how much you can handle, no one else is going to do it for you. And the best way for you is for you to do it, because you can kind of do it in a way where you can push the boundaries as comfortably as possible. I truly believe that, like, in your early 20s, life is really about testing points on yourself. Test the poison. If you survive, you up the dose just a little, but
you can handle more, basically.
100%. But it's healthy poisons, and you'd actually be shocked by how much you can pick up, and how much of like who you thought you are is still being shaped. There's still so many areas that you haven't catered to. So there's a lot that you don't know.
I mean, the more you do, you might actually find something that you're actually genuinely good at, or that you genuinely have a passion for, and you might meet people that might have the same views as you and the same goals as you.
I think that was also a pretty big part of my journey at uni. Was, as much as I understood that I was studying the humanities, I didn't limit the sort of extent of my skills to the humanities. I understood that there could be some sort of applicability in other spaces, and it just was a matter about being in those spaces. So for example, when it comes to networking, it does benefit you, even if you're from a medicine background or from social sciences, to be in spaces like finance, to see how the finance bros move, and just for exposure purposes. I truly believe that exposure can really open your eyes to a lot of things. I remember my first networking event that I attended. It was at the CTICC, and it was like, I went in as one person and then I left as a completely different person. And that was because I was in a space where I was the most unqualified person. I was in my second year. Everyone there had graduated way back when. And the focus of that event was masters, specifically MBAs. And they were talking about people that wanted to do their MBAs internationally and how they can sort of get into that, the application process, what they need to sort out. And for me, I was nowhere near finishing my first degree. Yet I'm sitting in a room with people that are prepping for masters. And that felt like, whoa, this is a lot. But it really exposed me to the thinkings or sort of the events that happen in a business school context, which is very, very different from the humanities.
So you mentioned also that now you're into a networking event and you felt as if you weren't as qualified as them. So there was an element of anxiety and fear because you didn't feel as you did as much as them, because obviously you were second year and they were discussing doing the MBA. So
Yeah.
how does someone deal with being awkward or nervous around new people and people that they feel that are more qualified than them? Sorry.
Oh, okay. I feel like there's a number of aspects to this. On an individual level, I think it is important to consider that people don't know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. So people don't know that you only are able to think to a certain extent or able to reason and apply that reasoning to a certain level. So you kind of have to go into that with the awareness that only you know your limits and your capabilities. Secondly, I feel like it's also important to know that in whatever context you're in, everyone is thinking about themselves. Everyone is worried about how they can best learn from this, how they are probably inadequate, how they don't have this, so they don't have that. So there's a complexity for everyone in that context. And it reminds me of the saying that I came across a couple of years ago, that people are not against you, they are for themselves. So in every situation you're in, everything that people do is for themselves. If someone comes to you at a networking event and they sort of question what you do and you don't have a solid answer, they give you a funny look. Trust me, it is more likely about them than it is about you. They're going to leave that event and they're not going to think about Mikhail that they saw at this event. They're just going to, oh yeah, that guy. But
It's not going to be,
there is for their own reasons. And beyond that, I feel like there's a large element of just doing it anyway. Doing it regardless of how you feel, regardless of whether you're qualified or not. Do it anyway, test the poison, try it out. If it does not kill you, it will make you stronger. And just do it anyway. It will shape you more than not doing it, right? Because if you think about it, what then would be the right time for you to do it, right? Would it be once you have that degree? Trust and believe me, once you have that degree and you feel like, okay, work experience, you're gonna find something else that can justify why you shouldn't do it. So if you think about it, there's always justification why not to do something or why to do something, but it's a matter of what is it that you're trying to learn? What is the aim with this thing that you're doing, and focusing largely on that. And I think it's important also to kind of understand what your North Star is. What is it that you're looking to get out of this experience? So if you think about it, in the case of uni, sure, we're all there for the degrees, but then beyond the degree, is that it, right? Is it just going through the 3-4 years, getting the piece of paper and leaving? Or is it about everything that can happen parallel to that uni experience that it opens up to you? So if you think about it in the context of a university campus, there's the lecture halls and everything around that, and the study rooms and the common rooms, but then you also see that there's a social life, there's sports, there's teaching centers, there's a clinic, there's a law clinic, there's always something happening. So you see that there are so many opportunities around the main core reason why you're there that can help you and sort of like fuel you in whatever direction you take, which kind of makes me think of it as, and this was a pretty strong belief of mine, that your best thing that you can do for yourself is to position yourself in a position with the most opportunity, right? So if you think about it, staying at home is one thing. Going to campus, the opportunities are more than.
But you could argue that you could make connections online, so couldn't you argue
100%, 100%, totally, definitely can. But I think that's the thing. You want to be on the ground, in the field, as active as possible, and get those battle scars, get those scuffs, because that can, I feel like strongly believe that it can give you an edge even when you are translating those skills to an online context, right? Because you know it firsthand. You were there, you survived. And so now if you're taking it online,
it's easier.
It's easier. And there's a large part of like, when you have the experience for yourself, you speak of it much differently than if it's something that you were kind of detached from. So with uni, it's beneficial to position yourself in a place of as much opportunity as possible. And if you think of the uni context, it's sort of like a gateway to so many other spaces. It's a gateway to a bunch of different industries, one, but also a gateway to people that have been where you are, have done what you have done, have learned things, and they can teach you. That's one of it. But also, it's an opportunity for you to experience it with people that are in the same boat as you. These are people that are also trying to figure it out and also trying to learn with you. So there's that sense of like camaraderie, one, but also collaboration that makes it feel less isolating. I remember, studying a BA is like, there's a lot of insecurity around that, because if you think of the current job market and you think of it as like, oh, there's no jobs for BA students. So in a way, you can laugh through the pain of, oh guys, what are we going to do after uni? Oh guys, it's not looking good for us. And it alleviates some of the pressures, which I think is truly what the human experience is about. Like, it's not all doom and gloom. Like it can be fun. The journey truly can be fun, because in the blink of an eye, it is going to be over. I look back and I'm like, listen, 4 years gone.
It was a blessing in disguise.
Truly a blessing in disguise. And I look back at it and I'm so glad. I'm so glad I did the things that I did, that I was so active. And I look at some of the pictures and the videos and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look so new at this. So like unprofessional. But I feel like that was very important for me to be where I am today. Right. And the thing is, when you're at uni, that's the perfect environment for you to test your skills and test the things that you know. And there's a lot more grace for you as a student. I feel like even when I did my first project, so in our degree, we also did media studies and journalism, and they used to give us a project. It was a news story, and you had to produce the news story however you wanted. And for me, I always wanted to get the most opportunity as possible. So if I could go outside and go as far and wide as possible, I would definitely do that. And that's what I tried the hardest to do. So we had this news project and we basically had to choose a beat. And a beat in journalism is basically a focus. So whether that's technology, whether that's business, whether that's healthcare. And for me, I was someone who was really interested in tech. I knew that I wanted to get into tech, but I didn't want to study computer science. I knew that, okay, I'm doing this BA and we're going to have to make it work one way or another. And the great thing about a Bachelor of Arts is that it's foundational. And if you think of something that's foundational, you can build anything on top of that. So that's how I approached this experience. So I was like, cool, I want to do this project and I want to go to a tech company. And that's when I was like, cool, the best way for me is to try and reach out to one of the companies in Cape Town, whether that was like the Take-A-Lots, whether that was the banks that have tech departments. But I went for AWS because this was in 2024. And I think it had been around a year that AWS had kind of moved to South Africa. So it was a big thing for the world because it's like, oh, this is Amazon's first skill center outside of the States. Yeah. And they kind of had a very much, when I looked online, they had a very much open to the general public. And I was like, cool, this is perfect. They're open to people. I'm trying my luck and I need to get this project done. And the great thing about being in uni is you can go into it with like the credibility of your institution. So if you're coming in as, oh, just Mikael, they're going to look at you like, okay, and? But if you're saying, hi, I'm Mikael and I'm a year student from the University of Cape Town, that has a stronger sense of credibility than it does when you're by yourself.
Yes,
and so yeah. So that was the case for me. So I went in and I sent a message. I was like, hey, I'm Christina. I'm from Varsity College and I'm doing this project. Can I come to your offices and film with you guys? Yes. And they were like, sure, great. And when I thought of it, I was like, the likelihood of journalism students in this environment is very unlikely.
Yes.
So my chances were higher, you know?
Yeah.
And I went into it and I sent that email and they replied immediately. And they were very much welcoming. And I pulled in two of my friends, Nielsen and Stephen. And the day before, I was so nervous because I'd never done anything like this. And I was like, oh, like I'm out. I told myself, Christina, I'm well aware that we're testing things and we're active in the field and we're raising the stakes. But like, whew, I don't know if this is the one, girl. Like, this is big. Like, this is AWS. Like, we ain't ever done nothing like this. But I said, you know what? I'm coming in as a student. They know I'm a student. So there's that room to fail.
Yeah.
And being comfortable to fail in that opportunity. And I went in, and when I tell you, Mikhail, when we started filming, I didn't even ask the interviewer like to say her name, like introduce herself.
Wait.
I just went into the questions.
I never did that either. Oh, and by the way, Shadley has questions, but I never did that either. I don't really ask the interviewer.
No, but the thing, you introduced me. I
Yeah.
didn't even introduce her. I was just like, hi, welcome, we're at AWS. So tell us, what is it that you guys, like, I just went straight into it. And then she was like, oh, well, let me introduce myself. I am so-and-so. And that's how
Okay. Yeah.
it was so awkward. It was so
Yeah.
awkward, but I survived. I survived.
yeah.
And that was kind of like a perfect learning opportunity for me to know that I don't like doing interviews.
Well, we don't have to do one now.
Yeah. As in being the interviewer.
Yeah.
It wasn't my comfortability, but yes. You said you have a question.
Oh, Shelley's asking, can you really build friendships in professional spaces, or is it somewhat always transactional? And also, how do you know when a connection is worth investing more in, and how do you also keep it alive when your paths no longer cross?
Oh, those are good questions. On the first part, I would say it's a matter of character. So as you go into workspaces, you will encounter people that are kinder and that are willing to kind of help you understand the ropes and figure things out. And that is more a reflection on them. So it's difficult to say that like, oh, people that work in this industry are like this, or people that work in this industry are like this, but it's a matter of character. And you will find people, like in my case, when I went to AWS, the lady that I reached out to was the site manager, and her character was someone who was open to teaching students, or, you know what I'm saying, helping them sort of bridge that gap between university and the working world. So at the core of it is a reflection of character. And when it comes to sustaining relationships beyond that, gosh, that's the thing. Life can take you in so many different directions, and there's a lot of unpredictability in that. It's difficult to say because, like I said, we're in such a transition stage in our lives, right? It's like we're on a bridge. All of us are on a bridge. After uni, we're all going somewhere. A lot of us don't know where that bridge is leading. So it's kind of limiting for us to hold people to, hey, we were together at this stage, we got to this bridge, therefore we need to continue being together. I think there's a lot of grace that we need to have for each other. And just like, the understanding that it could take whatever shape and form going forward.
I think one of Shadley's very interesting questions, because I obviously asked two questions, and I think you missed the first part. He asked, can you really build friendships in professional spaces, or is it somewhat always transactional?
No. And on the transactional part, this is what I have to say before I get into the working world and sort of building relationships there. Even before you get into a company, when you're networking with people in open spaces, whether it's an event, it's a seminar, it's a workshop, transactionality ruins the establishment of that relationship before it even goes anywhere. Okay. So when you meet someone and they are the manager of a bank and you're studying finance and you want to work in said bank, you go into it and you're like, hi, oh my gosh, I'm Johnny and I love what your company does. Here's my CV. Can you get me a job? That
is transactional, basically.
That is very transactional, and it's not a good look, one. But secondly, it shows that it's difficult when you're coming into things with nothing established.
Yes.
And it signals to them that you're going to be someone who's going to be a burden. You're going to want to be carried. You're going to want to, you know what I'm saying? They're going to need to hold your hand throughout this. And it makes it unattractive for them to respond to you.
Yes. So you
So
basically have to give them value as well. In that way,
that's the
yeah.
going into networking. What they don't tell you is you need to have some foundation already. You need to have some resources, and you need to be willing to be in those spaces, not necessarily to transact, but simply to build on it, right?
Yes.
So if I'm still foundational and I'm trying to learn, how did that person get to where they are? I'm simply taking notes.
Yeah.
And in taking notes, I'm not there to take from you. I'm there, I'm asking you insightful questions. I wanna learn your method. I want to learn what you did, what steps do you take,
Yes.
and not necessarily to replicate them, but as a guidance, right? To give me an idea of the blueprint and the framework that I can adopt going forward. So I think that's the important part.
I remember you.
Now,
Oh, sorry. No, I said I was. I remember you mentioned that everyone is technically for it in it for themselves, right? At
yes.
that point, but you shouldn't make it feel transactional though. So how would you approach someone without it feeling really faked and forced at that point?
That would be time, right? So in the early stages, I say in the first 3 to 6 months, it is about collaboration and partnership in whatever the thing is. So if I am a startup founder and I'm building a company of fintech, for
Yeah.
example, and I'm building this banking app for people, and you work in finance, the
Mm.
best thing for us, especially at that initial introductory stages, is to partner in this establishment, right?
Yeah.
There's a collaboration aspect that is at the core of it. It would be it would be unjust, and I don't think there's value in me coming in and saying, "Hey, you're a founder. Can I have a job?" And you're yourself are in it for yourself, which means you're also trying to figure this thing out in the best way possible for yourself. And so which kind of leads into the same case when you're at a job and trying to build those relationships with people to solidify them long term. There is a sense of like sharing the difficulties of the journey that makes it much easier to relate to people. So if we can relate on something beyond what I can do for you
Yes.
or what you can do for me,
Yeah.
that goes a longer way than if you're just seeing me for all the things that I've built, and that really is it's really a character thing. Once again, I think
Mm.
especially when you're young, your character is very much unrefined, and a lot of it is what you have learned at work. But when you're in the working world, like things are so much more different. And so I think it's like learning and like understanding the things that work and the things that can get you where you want to be. So jumping into it from the get-go, you're at a networking event and you're like, hey, I'm a student, can I work for your company? It's
Yes.
not a good look.
Yeah.
And as someone who's done
Mm.
that,
It doesn't work.
good
That's
for
what my
him.
yes, that's what I've heard my friend tell me because he used to go to networking events, and he said the biggest mistake that people make at networking events is if they know like the CEO of Standard Bank is going to be there, they go specifically for that reason and try and make it purely transactional. But what you're
Yeah.
saying is that you should make it more, you should increase, it should be relatable. So the other person should relate to you. So you could talk about restaurants and coffee, and because that would be more relatable. So instead of it being
Yeah.
transactional.
Yeah, and it leads back into just seeing the individual beyond their role, beyond whatever it is they're doing. Just see them as a person that has gone through this journey and that has accumulated all this experience, and they are where they are today, and being open to just like talking to them about it. Fun fact: as a generation, the Gen Zs, we are not like open to just talking to people for the sake of
Yeah.
talking and just having those conversational skills without having anything to take from it other than for conversation's sake. Okay. Communication was, if you think about it foundationally, is about sharing experiences, sharing insights, and sharing perspective more than it is about doing for one another. You're right. Simply being in that environment is fruitful enough as it is. You cannot say you're at a networking event and there's nothing else you can come out of that experience with other than the CEO giving you a job.
Yeah.
No, I truly believe again, there's always parallel occurrences around that one opportunity. And it's about like being aware of that. So if you think of it in the sense of sitting at a table in a room, that room is not just made up of a room and a table and seats. There's a desk in the back, there's a window, and that offers new perspective. There's a bookshelf, there's a couch. It leads into another room, right? So you understand that the makeup of that space and that mere event is more than the event itself. And also, I think also there's a requirement to kind of think beyond the CEO that's in the room. Think about the Mikhail that's next to you that's in the same boat. Mikhail came from wherever he came from. I came from wherever I came from. And those two different journeys can benefit the both of us. There's so much we can learn by simply asking, we somehow ended up in the same place. How did you get here? How did you end up at this point? And I think of it in my case as someone who works in tech now. I didn't follow a traditional path into tech, but my job is so technical. It's so like really cognitively demanding in a way that I didn't study. And so it's just, I always have this with my team when we talk about how we ended up in that company. It's such different parts, worlds apart. And that is so intriguing to me. And it makes you realize that like there's so many parts to get somewhere. It's not just you need to go through the CEO and you need to know him. He studied at the same uni you went to, and therefore there's so many different parts. And one thing I learned quite early on in my undergrad was just because you studied something doesn't mean that's the only industry that you can work in.
That's true.
So just because you studied finance, that's all you're going to be? Because if you think about it, undergrad is very much a foundational learning experience. It's foundational, sort of like shaping the way you think, your intellect, and just like how you voice yourself. You're establishing your voice. And because of that, you cannot keep it in one mold. It's still very much flexible. And in you being active, you learn how to adapt in that flexibility. And it is a luxury. It truly, truly is a luxury. I hear so much of like people in their late 30s, 40s talking about career changes, right? Leaving medicine, leaving health, leaving tech to do something completely different. Now they're painting on the side of the lake. Okay. So you see that like the fact that we are in this position where we don't have 5 years experience, it is a blessing in so many ways because it's a privileged position and you have the space to shape it however you want. But I think an important part is like taking responsibility for how you shape it going forward. Taking that responsibility and understanding that, okay, I'm here now. I have this degree. I need to now be active in what it becomes 5 years from now.
That's one that I like what you said when you said that there's a lot of people that are changing careers in their late 30s and 40s, which means that it's never too late. But people like in their 20s, when they don't know where they feel lost, right? In like their 20s. So it's kind of weird that people in their late 30s and 40s are changing and they can make it work. And yet people in their 20s, they feel like there's only one path that they need to take instead of trying different things.
Yeah, it makes you realize that, like, funny enough, you're never going to have it figured out. Even if you get that job through that CEO, you're going to get there and it's not going to feel like, okay, I have this figured out, right? There's that constant learning. And again, like what you thought something is very, very different when you get there. I think of myself when I was in my late teens, what I thought being in your 20s is going to feel like, based on what I heard, based on what I saw, very different, very, very different now that I'm here. And I think that's the same thing that you can say.
So wait, what did you hear and what's the difference?
Oh gosh, I heard a lot of doom and gloom. A lot of it was, you're going to feel so lost. You're not going to know what to do. Your career is going to stress you out. You're going to have all these responsibilities that you've never had, and it's going to keep you up at night. But what no one focused on is you also have a lot more opportunity and freedom in your 20s than in your teens. you have a lot more space to shape the decisions that you make, and that can lead into shaping your own life. That's what I feel like wasn't spoken about enough. And when I thought of accountability, I thought of it in the sense of, okay, I'm going to take on like all these big expenses. They're going to be my own now. I'm going to be independent. I'm going to have to be financially independent and secure. But also you realize that like you need to also take accountability for the decisions you make. That life is not just going to be happening to you and you're just like, oh, I don't know what to do going forward. But you also have an active role in shaping that. And to also, I think a really, really key part of it is understanding that your life will grow in whatever direction you take it, right? So to understand that, like, just because, so this is in the case of uni, just because, oh, you after high school, you decide, I'm not going to go straight into uni, I'm going to go straight into the working world. Your life is going to grow in that direction, right? Same thing with someone who decides, you know what, I'm going to go to uni, even though I don't know what's going to become of my life. It's going to grow in that direction.
Basically,
so to not think of it as one way doom and gloom, and there's only this right way to do things, but to understand that life is for the living. I don't want to sound too philosophical, truly. It's not what I'm trying to do, but just to understand that it will grow in whatever direction you take it. So therefore, you need to be really, really aware of the decisions that you're making and what you're choosing to focus on as you move forward.
Yeah, so basically one door opens a door to 5 different other doors, and whatever door you open opens a door to another 5 different doors based on what door you open. It's basically just like
And
that.
exactly. And you're never gonna know. You're never gonna come to, well, not let me not say never, but I feel like it would be unrealistic to think that you're gonna know that you're gonna know what comes behind every door that you open. That you're gonna feel the sense of 100% security every time you open a
But it's
door.
not like
That's
that.
unrealistic.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when you're younger, no one focuses on these. These are not like sort of the mainstream information that we're getting. A lot of it is the negative side, right? And I think it's important because you want to prepare yourself for what could happen, and you want to approach it with the understanding that you need to have an emergency fund in the things that you do, right? You need to be able to think multilaterally in a lot of things, right? So in my case, I went into it sort of learning once I got there that doing a Bachelor of Arts leads to a very insecure industry where there's a lot of unemployment and people struggling to have jobs. But I also understood that, like, okay, I have to now start thinking in so many different directions. And it takes a lot of awareness because I had to understand that there are people that have gone before me, and I'm hearing their stories. And what I'm hearing from them is they are struggling and it's hard. So if I continue in this and I hope to get there and figure it out, then it's too late. That's the other thing. It's going to be too late for you to think, I'm going to figure it out once I graduate. So it took really being active while I was still there, still in uni, to open myself up to much more than what was in front of me.
Thank you. So I want to bring it back to networking quick. So you mentioned, we were talking about the way that you approach people, right? And how you introduce and how to be relatable. So once you have like a good interaction with somebody, how do you grow that relationship? And
Ooh. A strong part of it is relatability. Right? So if we share some history, so with women, it's kind of like, oh, if we're both girls, there's that covered, right? If we're both like excited, if the event that we're at or the reason why we're there is outside of both of us, that could be the thing that relates us to each other. So for example, if you think of a concert is usually an artist performing, could be an ensemble, and that thing is the thing that we share. And it's in the establishment of that relatability that we can then grow the relationship. There needs to be something outside of both of us, right? For it not to feel transactional and for it not to feel like one is sort of taking from the other in a way that's unbalanced. that I think is a really important thing to consider.
So, what would you say would the biggest mistake that people make when they try to network with others? What are the biggest mistakes that they make?
The biggest one, I think, is thinking that other people have what you need.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, it could be someone who's more established and they could be the manager at that role, but for you to go into it, there's a lot of, you're putting on expectations on them, and that's not realistic, right? Because they themselves, what it looks like from their position is different from what it looks like with you looking at them, right? So I think understanding their positionality will help you in sort of avoiding making those assumptions about people, that they are the key for you getting to where you want to be. Of course, 100%, there are people that can help you, that can be stepping stones. But for them to be the final product is unrealistic. I think that's why I say there needs to be a really, really strong openness to just being in those rooms to learn and take notes, and using those notes to build yourself, and really taking responsibility and accountability for what comes from it.
Yes, and on this topic, Shadley has a question. He says, have you ever felt that you were using people when networking, or how did you move past that?
Yeah, I did. And I was.
Yeah.
I was in a way. I was in a way because I wanted to learn from you. I wanted your secrets. And I wanted to learn. And I understood that they were doing it at a time and a context that was very different to the one that I was in currently. But I really understood that
Wait. Why is Shadley asking all my questions? That's crazy. That's everything that's all my ideas. Okay, wait, let's go on.
I did not say anything.
Okay.
I feel like, yeah, there was a lot of transactionality from it, but I was more so consuming time than I was resources.
Yes.
So I was using up your time to get all your knowledge and information and your first-hand experience, but I wasn't taking from what you have built. I wasn't taking anything tangible, although there came a time where I was doing that, but it had come at a point where I myself was coming to the table with something for you. So I think of it also in the case of internships. With internships, I find that it is more advantageous for you to ask for the internship with something that you're bringing for the people that you're asking from. So if you're coming into it with some experience, if you're asking to be a marketing intern at an agency, if you're coming into it with at least 2 months experience with some other organization, they are more willing to take you on than if you're purely coming for them to teach you. And that's the trick behind it. I remember with my internship, I worked for free. I was getting there on my own accord.
So when you got the internship, did you ask them, or was the position was the requirements of the position or the payment of the position, it was a free? Was it like a pro bono, or did you ask them?
I asked them. I went to them.
Yeah.
I went to them and I was like, hey, I'm a student. Can I intern with you guys? Also, the other thing was I had established that relatability with the company. So I knew what they were about and what they stood for. And that's how I went into it. And I created that sort of common ground. So it was easier for them to take me on because I understood what they were about, compared to me coming into it with, hey, I'm looking for a job. You guys are a company. Will you take me on? And so I went to them. It was a cold email. Genuinely, it was a cold email. And they were open to it because I expressed the commonality between me and them. It's your responsibility to define what we have in common, especially if you are on the less advantageous side. Especially if you have nothing actually tangible to offer, you need to be willing to bear most of that the relationship's responsibility going forward. And so I went into it with that understanding that, like, okay, I need to show them where them and I relate, and I need to be willing to make it as light of an experience for them. So, and I think also, like, it's important to know that this is a privileged position to be in. Working for free. Let me tell you something. Today, I can't think of working for free because I can't afford to work for free.
And
but
you
when
have the
you're
experience as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you're a student, you have more flexibility to be able to do that, right? Compared to when you're out of uni. So for me at the time, working for free was something I could do. I could take on that cost on myself 100%. And it also made it easier for them to be willing to take me into their space. And it was an experience. Again, I feel like my internship taught me that as much as I've had ideas, and it was in a marketing role, it taught me what, like all the things that I thought I wanted to do weren't necessarily what I wanted. It was what I had perceived. But going into it, the experience was very different. And that really helped me when it came to making more decisions, especially when it came to the jobs that I now apply for outside of uni, because I have that knowledge and just that experience of, like, okay, I don't like journalism and interviewing people, even though that's what I studied. I'm not a big fan of marketing things and advertising things, although that's what I thought, right? Like when I was in uni, I was like, oh, this is so exciting, working on Nando's ads, sign me up. Would love to do that. When you think of the production side of things, you're like, yeah, this is what I want to do. But when I was in it, I was like, this is very different. And it gave me a different experience. And that helped inform me going forward. So I was able to kind of iterate as I was going, that, like, I don't think I want to do this going forward. And that sort of gave me more sort of confidence when it came to expanding the jobs that I was applying for. I was now more open to tech and finance and just health, and even education spaces as well, to try and figure out where do I fit in, and just giving myself the space that, like, you know what, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. This is my first time here. I just arrived. So I'm figuring it out as we go. Yeah.
One of Shadley's questions is, how should you stay in touch with a connection or with other people that you met without being viewed as annoying?
Honestly, I don't keep in touch.
Oh, so wait, okay.
No. Which kind of also links to my perception of LinkedIn.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of, like, using
so you say
as this brand.
LinkedIn is basically just corporate Instagram.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much corporate Instagram. Some people want to do it. That's them. But for me, because I was in a figuring out stage, I didn't want to, like, establish myself in one thing and give the perception that this is the thing that I do. I wanted the freedom to do whatever I wanted without it looking like, oh, Christina, you did this, therefore that's all you can do. Right? And so even when it comes to keeping in touch.
Oh my God, Shadi asked another question that's on my list, and he said it's not on my list. Okay, just go on, it's fine.
So even when I think about, like, keeping in touch with connections, I personally, I don't keep in touch with connections because I understand I use that as a learning experience. And what that taught me opened me up to so many other things that, like, I'm just moving ahead. And I'm grateful for that experience. And I take it as simply that, as a stepping stone. Now it's there. It's not dead. Don't get me wrong. But I haven't gone back, if I can put it that way. I use, when I think of it, like, going forward, I use the experience itself for my next thing. So when I think of my current tech job, when I was applying, I framed it from the perspective of, I have been in tech spaces like this, and I've learned this, and this is why I'm the perfect person for this position. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I focused on the experience and the things that I learned there to position me as best as possible for this new thing. And I think that that's how I view LinkedIn, as like an opportunity to like step onto the next sort of step, wherever it is you want to go. Yeah.
Shadley wants to know what lesson about relationships has helped you the most in building your network.
Ooh, what what about relationships?
Oh wait, is that linked to yesterday? Oh, this.
Oh, probably. Why? I
Okay.
don't know why. And to be fair, it wasn't yesterday, probably today, because
Oh
like I said,
yes, it's 4 o'clock.
yeah, we got home at
Yeah,
4 o'clock. So it's like we're running
yeah,
on little to no sleep.
yeah.
Yes.
Shadley's
We
still
are.
awake though.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
What lesson about relationships? I think that no one, oh man, it's a tricky, I'm trying to bridge it. I'm trying to bridge it for Shadi because I know where he's coming from with this. Um, I think that everyone everyone makes mistakes, and you can't hold someone to what they are today tomorrow. So even when I think of it from a career perspective, Shadley, because that's why we're here today, career, even from a career perspective, what someone is, what role they occupy when you meet them could be different in 5 years, right? You could see them posting on LinkedIn, hey, I'm changing careers now, I'm working in this. So just to fundamentally understand that as people, we are prone to change. However, and to honestly keep that at the back of your mind, going into a lot of these environments. Yeah.
Thank you. Shelley's final deep Shelly's final deep one. Okay, not deep question, deep one. I know this isn't on the list. Okay, how has your experience in? Oh my God! Wait. How has experience in a romance or close relationship shaped the way you build professional ones? Okay.
I don't even know why we're giving Shadi so much airtime. Oh, why? Sorry, can you
Yeah.
repeat that again? Sorry.
How has your experience in a romance or close relationships shaped the way you build professional ones?
Hmm, I don't know if it has shaped.
He's not done talking. He might talk like all the way to one about it.
I don't know. I don't
uh,
know if I can say there's been a correlation. I feel like it's both both instances have taught me more about myself than it has about the people.
yeah.
So it's been a reflection of me than it was about other people, sort of how I handle things and how I best engage in moments of difficulty or moments with this high tension or moments of uncertainty. It really has taught me more about myself than anything. And yeah, that's the best answer I can give, Shadley, in this
Yes.
moment.
Thank you, Shelly, for all the uh um well philosophical questions. So I wanna ask you one last question to like end things off. So wait, what was my last question? If there was one piece of advice, right, that you would give someone that's trying to network or build something from scratch, like they 20, 21, 22, or 23, and they're trying to build valuable connections. How do they build
Mhm.
connections? And is a lot of connections better or a few solid connections?
Mm, I think, oh, there's a lot of benefit to going into a lot of spaces with the understanding that, well, not with the understanding, but the burden of, without placing the burden on yourself to contribute anything, right? We tend to think of value as what I also bring. But
Yeah.
sometimes, especially in the early stages, removing that burden does make it easier for you to learn and to develop whatever it is you then bring to the table going forward. So removing that burden is very, very crucial in the early stages, one. And what was the second part of your question? Sorry.
Is building many connections or a few solid
Ah,
connections better?
I would say few solid and specific to your
Yeah.
context for that current stage that you're at. So in my case, when I started, I was very much in media studies, but I wanted to go into tech, and that was my focus.
Yeah.
And as I went through the experiences, you iterate as you sort of act. So often action, you develop. Often action, you develop. So I think having that awareness of like having more specific targets is the better way to go. But I also do understand that like when you're 2021, you don't even know how to aim and shoot. And in that, numbers can benefit you. So having a larger sort of pool of people and spaces that you can access will benefit you, because then you can pick up a lot more, right?
Yeah.
It brings me back to the idea of placing yourself in as much positions for opportunity as possible.
Yeah. You never know where the goal is.
You never know. And so in that, it's about you being as outside on the field as possible until something happens, something sticks. There's that like moment where, you know what I'm saying, it piques your interest and you're able to build on that. But even for that to happen, Mikhail, if you think about it, for that to happen, you need to act before anything else. You need to drive that change to happen. So if you're 2021, fundamentally at the core, I would recommend being active. And by being active, I mean go outside, be at the events, but also being at the events and be willing to do it by yourself. That's another thing. Be willing to do it by yourself, and you will meet people that are like you in those spaces, rather than expecting that you want to take people that you know to the spaces that you want to go to. There's more benefit for you to go by yourself and meet people there and learn from them and use those spaces to kind of test what you know and test what you don't know, and also to challenge yourself. I think after some time we have to keep moving the bar. We have to keep moving the bar, and you have to do it in a way that challenges you. So I think a lot of you need to be aware of what it is, the position that you're in, and what you need. Because if you think about it, being in uni, there's a lot of noise when it comes to careers and what you're supposed to do, you're not supposed to do it. But I think a lot of awareness about your position is very important, and making sort of like decisions based on your position. So I will say, when I was in uni, a lot of the people there came from backgrounds where they had the connections, right? Either mom or dad or uncle is the manager at said bank. Therefore, it isn't as much of a need, or like there isn't as much of a fire for me to go out. So they were those kind of people. So, but I understood that like I personally want more than what's in front of me, and not in a sense of being like greedy or anything, but simply understanding that there's so much opportunity for growth. And the best growth happens when you go out there
Yes, when you
yourself.
challenge yourself. Yeah.
100%. Challenge yourself and test your own limits. You would be so surprised by how much you can handle. And it's scary. But you know what? You know what's also scary? Not moving.
Yes.
Lacking progress. You look back 4 years and you're in the same position that you were in when you started.
That's more scary. Yes.
That is more scary. So the best thing is just to get outside and handle all the scary things as you're in the field. And you would be surprised that then actually it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And you can meet people along the way, and you could be stronger than you could have anticipated overall. So yeah, there's a large part of it is acting. In my experience, having been in a lot of rooms at a lot of events, the thing that separates a lot of people is action. A lot of people don't want to act. There's a lot of expectation that like, oh, I'm just starting out, I don't know what to do, therefore someone else needs to come and tell me what to do. Where it's like you have the freedom and the space to decide for yourself, and it's about taking accountability and taking responsibility for those decisions going forward.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so
I think
much. Thank you so much,
that's
Christine. I think all the information you gave today was extremely valuable to me and to everyone else, and to Shadley as well, that has been watching. And I'm also grateful to have Shadley asking decent, good questions. Thank you so much, Shadley.
Yeah. Thanks, Shade. Thank you so much, Kyle, for this interview. It's really fun.
I'm so thankful to have you on. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Cool.